Well, good afternoon, demonic angel, here after a couple days break. I figured it was time to start really talking about some subjects that mean the most to me, that obviously you guys would probably like to hear my thoughts on this because I do the occult. So this is going to be my reasoning about why I think that Satan, that idea, is attractive to me. So, because I think, even for me, I knew that I had those fears that if I do this, God is going to hate me, this is wrong. So I incorporated other things into my thoughts before this, which was like plant medicine and obviously ghosts and communicating with dead people. That went back to my childhood, but I never saw it in a satanic kind of way, or didn't work with demons until later. I think that I've tried to separate my attraction in an intellectual way, and I'm trying to understand black magic as a system, the left-hand path, but there's still that underlying animalistic attraction for me that goes back. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere, really small mining town, and I'll just say it was filled with Mormons, so people from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, I'm not here to shit on Mormons. I think that if I was in a small town and I was not part of that religion, I would have felt a similar way. So I think it was just more so the small town mentality of the religion. But my family and I weren't part of that. I think I've mentioned that I grew up Catholic. But people at school treated me differently. And when I got older, Mormons aren't allowed to date till they're 16. And as soon as everybody who was my friends turned 16, they didn't want to play video games anymore. They didn't want to go hang out or come swimming and do kind of adolescent stuff. They just wanted to be with their boyfriends and everything. That made me feel left out. So I dated some guys who were Mormon as well, but I had to be hidden so they couldn't, take me home to their families. And on the couple of occasions where they did, they were telling me about why I should convert to their religion. And obviously at the time I was defending my Christian faith in Catholicism. But it was just, I felt dirty, used wrong in this kind of messed up, sexual way, I guess, but also just like I'm wrong in general. So I live in a city now, and so that's not my life anymore. But I mean, for a while I really didn't know how to feel about it. Like, okay, God and it is still everywhere. God is consciousness, but maybe God just isn't religion. And those thoughts came for me as a later teenager. And then I realized, I was like, praying to God, it feels good. It does make me feel better to have this personal connection. But I I used to go out hiking by myself. I don't recommend it. I don't do that anymore. But I'd go out there by myself, and first I would I would do psychedelics. Don't recommend that either. I would say take other. I mean, the answer is to do other things as well, and don't be by yourself. But that was just part of what I did growing up. And I'm talking about my early 20s at this point. So I went out and I had this experience about how, like, the frog is really my spirit animal, like my element of, this is like how I relate to an animalistic type of spiritual way. And that felt really good to me. But then I just had this experience out there where I heard, in my mind that that Satan is good and Lucifer. Now I know that those are different things. There's Luciferian philosophy and Satanism, but for me, it's like Satan is the animalistic side of Satanism, and Luciferian is more like the philosophy or the intellect behind what Satan as a symbol really is. So I was really just felt so embraced by this, and it was this darkness and this sort of sexy intelligence that I really have a hard time describing. And at first I didn't think about it too much. I was like, oh, I'm not going to think about Satan. That's just so wrong, and demons can follow me, and what else could go wrong with this? That was my first thoughts. But I realized that the more I thought about it, the more I was attracted, and that it wasn't just for these wrong reasons, that it really became part of something I slowly embraced for myself. So I really decided that this left-hand path and was going to be part of me, and realizing that the light working and meditation and, spirit animals, plant medicine is all very important. And it is important to understanding things like the Goetia, Satanism, that are dark, because you have to know how to protect yourself first. You can't jump in, I think, to that and then expect. I think that you kind of have to go through the light, understanding that light working before you jump into this. And that's how I did it. And I ultimately, what Satan meant for me as a symbol before I really started working with him in a ritualized way, was this embrace of freedom. And that not just, part of it was like what happened to me growing up, but part of it was like this life, being in this physical earthly body, it's not wrong. This is an important place to be. And Satan would tell me these things, more so than I would almost say my other spirit guides that deal with the more dead people, ghosts. This was like, hey, this is freedom. And, mortality is the best thing that you have. If you work with me, this is because this is a great place to be, this physical plane. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't be I mean, don't be just living a life of drug addiction and sadness or promiscuity, because that's not really how to live your best life. That is, I mean, it's Aleister Crowley lived his life that way for a while before realizing that balance is the true way to live your best life. And I do have to say that I understood these things and still understand them through Satanism. That I'm not ashamed of some of the darker things that I have done as far as my own journey that probably have been influenced by, you know, the trauma that I've talked about in my other videos. But this is a power. This plane is a power. Don't be ashamed. Learn from it. If I really think that this is a bad experience, then I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to ascend and move on so that I can live my best life and get the most pleasure and joy out of really taking my own belief, knowing what I believe. So that was that slow way of I stopped feeling ashamed of all the things that we've been kind of programmed, I think, to feel ashamed of. So I'm not going out here and I'm not condoning behaviors that I talked about that I struggled with. It's just that I learned what's not there for me, but I don't feel bad about being physical, enjoying good food, having sex. That is something that is done with a viewpoint of joy, not overeating to, you know, compensate for stress or having a sexual encounter for some mental reason, but for the joy of doing something. That is the key. And so slowly through, you know, since my early 20s, Satan has been here helping me understand and release. It's really, Satan for me is just this release of this baggage and garbage about the way that I feel about myself as a kid. And I've decided to not get completely rid of that because I don't know if that's possible, but I'm not going to let it run my life, because for a while I did hate religious people, God. I kind of went through all those things that I do think other people can relate to. But I wasn't there to just talk about and live those things only. It's understanding about, like, that Satan has helped me understand my motivations about them, help me to live my best life. And when I do work with the goetic spirits as well, they always talk about Satan and about how good he is as far as what he does. They're attracted to us, you know, the dark side in the sense of things that are heavy, like the old gods and Satan. They're attracted to us because we can in some way obviously let this baggage go and be open to that. And so you know, I think this will probably do it for my first video on really why, but I really can just ultimately describe it as a feeling of freedom, an embrace of, like, I always did feel like there was something not right about me, which I think everybody feels, but I really felt that strongly. And so every time, though, that I would dream about Satan and go out and communicate with him first just on this astral telepathic way, he would say to me, let go of those fears. This is a good place to be. I mean, there's accidents you can't control. I can't control my death. I can't control the other tragedies that will happen to me. But don't be ashamed, because I kind of also linked that to my reincarnation theory in a way here, where I chose to be here to work on my problems and help other people with theirs, ultimately. And of course, my other spiritual understandings in my last life were also filled with these things that were darker aspects. Don't forget to do light working and meditation. Don't forget about the right-hand path, I think, because those things are useful for understanding how to navigate all these things. But for me, Satan is freedom, and Satan is personally here for me. And I stopped fighting that and a while ago, and it feels really, really good to have somebody I can trust on my side. He has never let me down. He's never lied to me. And I really do. I mean, it changed me into thinking like of myself as it was wrong in some unfixable way to I'm living this mortal life, and it is sought after. Being immortal is a sought after thing, and there should be some form of feeling that this is a good thing. I was going to say pride, but I don't know if I want to go that deep about it. So I'll continue to do some videos on Satan, because it is one of my favorite topics. I mean, along with obviously the Goetia and stuff like that. But I just wanted to give my own informal thoughts, which obviously are a lot different than the more formal things people have to say about Satan out there. But this was it for me. So can any of you guys relate to the way that I'm feeling? Or is that how Satan came into your life in some way before you worked with the Goetia? I really would love to hear some other stories and thoughts on that. And then I think I'll probably do a video about what I think that theistic Satanism has in common with LaVeyan Satanism. And that will be my whole other video. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and don't be afraid to let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.